So Lewis Hamilton's departure from Mercedes to Ferrari has sparked discussion about potential replacements. We can identify 6 realistic options for the Mercedes seat and aim to evaluate the merits of each. The first option discussed is Carlos Sainz, suggesting a direct swap between Hamilton and Sainz. This option is considered clean as both drivers are experienced, although Hamilton's experience surpasses Sainz's. Despite this, Sainz has been in comparable machinery and achieved a win last season, something Hamilton hasn't done in the past 2 years. I believe Sainz could be a viable replacement for Mercedes, acknowledging that George Russell might outperform him, but not by a significant margin. I rate Sainz above Russell and note his adaptability in previous transitions to Ferrari and McLaren. However, the move to Mercedes is viewed as a bit of a sideways step for Sainz. In essence, Lewis Hamilton appears to be taking a calculated risk by considering a move to Ferrari. In the twilight of his career, he sees an opportunity to fulfill a desire he has mentioned before. It seems like a reasonable choice for him, with not much to lose, given the perceived 50-50 chance. I even suggest the possibility of Mercedes being slower than Ferrari in 2024. There are also mentions of Hamilton's connections to Audi and the idea that Ferrari might be pursuing him rather than him choosing to leave Mercedes. We can speculate on the idea that it might be time for Hamilton to join Alfa Romeo, or a season before potentially moving to Audi in 2026. The complexity of the situation is highlighted, particularly if Carlos Sainz is contemplating a move to Mercedes, especially with George Russell already firmly established within the team. The overall sentiment is that while it may not seem likely, such a move could work well for all parties involved if it were to happen. Moving on to option number 2, we have Alex Albon. It's worth noting that Alex's contract with Williams is set to conclude at the end of 2024. While discussion about Albon potentially replacing Lewis Hamilton have circulated online, the early departure of Hamilton in 2024 caught many by surprise. Albon, who will be 28 at the start of the season, has frequently been suggested as a suitable candidate for the role, and there are valid reasons for such consideration. Alex Albon shares a strong rapport with George Russell, a crucial factor in a successful driver pairing, especially when contending at the forefront. I emphasize the importance of a positive driver relationship, particularly for maintaining a genuine title battle in the Drivers' Championship. I acknowledge that Russell may have a slight edge in performance. However, I believe this gap is comparable to the current one between Russell and Carlos Sainz. The potential collaboration of Russell and Albon is seen as a more harmonious fit for Mercedes, with both drivers entering their prime and having a similar age. I envision a seamless partnership that could extend for several successful years, suggesting that the pairing of Hamilton and Russell might have encountered ego clashes. From a strategic standpoint, Albon's transition to Mercedes is seen as fitting well, especially considering his current experience with a Williams team that has made significant progress and operates with a Mercedes power unit. Looking at the scenario, Williams shares several components with Mercedes, making it a calculated risk that Alex Albon should unquestionably consider. While the Williams project led by Jost Vowles appears exciting, securing a Mercedes seat for 2025 alongside his best friend George Russell would likely take precedence for Alex. With this potential move in the air, one can imagine Alex actively reaching out to his agent right now. The only conceivable obstacle to this Mercedes transition would be if Albon finds a more compelling project elsewhere, perhaps with Aston Martin. Joining Aston Martin alongside Alonso and replacing Stroll could be an appealing prospect, especially if he envisions leading that project in the long term. We can speculate that Albon might be hesitant about joining Mercedes, as he would likely be expected to take on a secondary role to Russell, who is not only a friend but also a formidable competitor. I suggest that Albon might have the confidence to back himself against Russell over the course of a season, creating an intriguing dynamic. Moving on to option number 3, Esteban Ocon enters the conversation. Despite being an Alpine driver, Ocon still maintains some level of management ties with Toto Wolff or Mercedes, dating back to his involvement with Renault in 2020. We can acknowledge the potential chaos in pairing Ocon with Russell, given their history of clashes as teammates. While recognizing the entertainment value such a partnership would bring, I question the feasibility of Mercedes making this move, given the clash-prone history of Ocon and Russell. I don't envision option 4, Kimi Antonelli, as the most likely choice. While both Sainz and Albon seem more fitting from Mercedes' perspective, Esteban Ocon might see the Mercedes seat as a prime opportunity. In my earlier prediction, I suggested that Ocon should consider leaving for Williams, but if the chance for a Mercedes seat arises, he should actively pursue it. The Alpine project doesn't seem promising, given management changes and Gasly's strong performance overshadowing Ocon. Considering Ocon's age and the lack of progress with Alpine over 4 seasons, I believe Sainz is a better option. Moving on to option 4, there's considerable buzz around young talent Kimi Antonelli. At just 17, he has garnered attention by swiftly transitioning from F3 to F2 with high expectation for his debut season. While the hype is understandable, the challenge Antonelli faces in a competitive F2 field with experienced drivers. If Antonelli can rise to the occasion and secure the title in the new 2024 spec F2 cars, it would validate the immense potential attributed to him. Let's hope that Antonelli can fulfill the high expectation and see him as a potentially groundbreaking talent for the 2025 season. From the perspective of Mercedes, there's a dilemma concerning Kimi Antonelli. Despite not having experienced an F2 car yet, there's a need to allow him time to adapt and gauge his performance. However, this approach poses challenges as time passes in a competitive driver market. The volatility of the market with many drivers out of contract, including the surprising early move of Lewis Hamilton. Contracts seem less binding, and Mercedes delaying their decision opened the door for other potential moves, such as Albon to Aston Martin or Sainz to Alfa Romeo. The difficulty lies in Mercedes deciding whether to wait for Antonelli's potential development or make a move sooner. Waiting too long risks missing out on other available talents. Promoting a driver too soon can be risky, citing exceptions like Verstappen, but considering it more of an outlier. Albon himself has expressed feeling the Red Bull opportunity came too soon, and the dynamics and pressures within Red Bull differ significantly from those at Mercedes. The prospect of Antonelli joining the team in 2025 draws parallels to the dynamics seen with drivers like Piastri and Norris. Despite potential readiness concerns, I suggest that even if Antonelli isn't fully prepared, it might not be a negative move, drawing parallels to the competitive dynamic observed between Piastri and Norris in their first season. Kimi has already accumulated enough super license points, suggesting that if Mercedes confirms his role in 2025, they can provide him with more practice sessions, season tests, and opportunities to test the 2022 cars. This is particularly significant for a young driver's development, especially in the new era of ground effect cars. The potential benefits of putting Kimi in a 2022 car whenever possible, given the unlimited testing opportunities. Moving on to option 5, the possibility of Fernando Alonso joining Mercedes. Despite being a clear number 1 at Aston Martin, Alonso's pairing with Russell at Mercedes is seen as the best driver lineup in Formula 1. Whether Alonso should consider leaving the almost complete Aston Martin project for the allure of a marketing move and the potential of a strong lineup at Mercedes. The prospect of Alonso and Russell competing together in the Madrid Grand Prix in 2026 adds to the intrigue. Option 6 introduces Sebastian Vettel as a somewhat unconventional choice. Vettel might be a bit rusty, drawing a parallel with Schumacher's return. The potential pairing of Vettel and Russell is envisioned, with Russell likely taking on the lead role. The historical challenges of having 2 Alfa drivers in a team, but I see potential marketing value in a German driver joining a German team. In conclusion, I predict that Mercedes will choose Alex Albon to replace Lewis Hamilton, anticipating that Kimi Antonelli will then take Albon's place at Williams in 2025. Please let me know your thoughts on this prediction in the comments section.